In the previous video, we created our first theme and specified a header for it. We also made it show in our WordPress dashboard and include some styles and scripts for it. We also created a button to make sure that our theme is working. In this video, we're going to create a header template for our theme. First of all, we need to create a header.php file. If you consider a web page like this file, it consisted of header, footer, and sidebars and article. The content in the header and footer files repeats in the all pages. Now, if you want to create a header content in our index file, it can be a menu, it can be a search bar, it can be the logo, and we can't repeat that over 10 lines of code in our all pages. We need to create all the header content here and just include the header file in our templates. Remember this wp-head function that we discussed in the previous video? It contains all the assets files included in WordPress. This is part of our header file, so I'm going to paste it in my header file. We need to also include this header file on our index.php file. We need to also include this header file in our index.php file. WordPress has a special function for this. It's called get_header. If you don't pass any parameter to this function, WordPress will look for header.php file. But if you pass the parameter here, the first parameter is a string. If you pass the parameter here, WordPress will then search for that file. For example, if you pass the parameter single here, WordPress will look for a file called header-single.php. What's the use of this? If you want to show different headers for different parts of your theme, you can use this. Like for this one, you can create a file called header-single. And then you can check the situation here, and if the page we are in is single, then show this header, and else show the normal header. IsSingle is a conditional tag in WordPress. It checks if we are in a single page or not. You can use this to show different headers in different parts of your theme. But for now, I'm not going to show different headers, so I'm going to just use getHeader function. Now let's check if this is working. I'm going to refresh my main page, and if styles are loaded, then it's working fine. Since this file is loaded in every template of our theme, we need to create the first HTML tags that every template has. For example, we need to call the doc type here, and we need to create the HTML tag. Now, for this HTML tag, we have some specific WordPress functions that can help us. We can call the language attributes function here. This function calls the direction and language parameters in our HTML tag. We can create a meta tag for our char set here. I'm using the tag meta and pass the parameter char set. Here we need to call the blog info function of WordPress. This function almost gives us any useful information about our WordPress website. It's called blog info. You can pass the char set here, and it gives you the char set of your WordPress website. If you check the documentation for this function, you can see that it's going to show you any useful information you need. You can see that the possible values you can pass to this blog info function: name, description, URL, char set, version, and almost anything about your website. Another tag that we can put here is our viewport tag. This viewport tag helps the browsers to know the width of our website and make it responsive. The value of this tag should be this, and you can't change it. You shouldn't change it. Well, the closing tag of our HTML shouldn't be in our header file. The next tag that we're going to create as a normal HTML file is our body tag. The opening tag should be in header.php file, but the closing tag shouldn't. Now we can write a class name here for our body tag. We can, since I'm using Foundation Framework for my front end, I'm using like grid X and cell medium 12. But this is not really helpful, you know? When you're in our archive page, the class is the same. Where in a single page, it's still this class. Then you are in your home page, it's still this, and it's not useful. WordPress actually has a function for this. It's called body class. This function gives you different classes for different pages. It gives you a home class for your main page. It gives you a single tag for your single page, and it gives you an archive tag for your archive page. Also, you can write your custom classes here. I'm going to write gridx and a cell medium of 12. And that's it. We created our first tags in our header.php file. These tags are the most necessary things that a header file needs. It's totally up to you to add other things to it, like a custom logo, like a menu, like a search bar, and a login button. Let's check our theme page to see if any of these tags had any effect. I'm going to open up my developer tools, and in the elements, let's check the head tag. The tags that we added are the carousel meta tag and the viewport meta tag. In the body tag, you can see the classes that are added by WordPress: home, blog, logged in, admin bar. These are all useful tags that you can install your WordPress theme based on it. So let's create a logo and a menu in our header. This should be like medium 3, and inside it we need to call a function for returning WordPress logo. WordPress actually do this with a function called the custom logo. But before that, we need to do something. By default, a WordPress theme doesn't support custom logos. We need to define it in our functions.php file that this theme is supporting custom logo. For this kind of functionality that we want to add to our WordPress theme, we use the add theme support function. In this function, we can pass a parameter like admin bar, line wide, and some of these functionalities that you can see here: custom header, custom background, and what we want is custom logo. There are other functionalities like post thumbnails and other things that we will get to it. But for now, we're using custom logo. But remember that we need to call any functions in WordPress in its right time. In order to do that, we use WordPress action hooks. If you remember, we enqueued our scripts in wp-enqueue scripts hook. For this purpose, to add supports to our theme, we use after setup theme hook. This hook fires after the theme is loaded. So we use this action like this. We call a function for our functionalities that we want to add. We call it if theme add support. And then call this function when the theme is set up. Inside this function, we need to call a function called add theme support that we just discussed. Add theme support and custom logo. Now our theme supports custom logo. In our header.php file, we need to call this function called the custom logo. So this function will show our custom logo. This will work fine, but WordPress has some conditional tags that prevent unwanted errors. It goes like this, that if has custom logo. So for any specific function in WordPress, you have a conditional tag that if this function exists. So if this theme has a custom logo, then show the custom logo. Now this will work better, and this won't show any unwanted errors. Now if you check our theme, you can see that there is nothing added. Also, I deleted the button in the index.php. There is no button here. And in the header.php file, we called the custom logo function, but we didn't upload any logo and we didn't specify any logo to show here. Now, for doing that, you need to go to the section of customizing appearance, and inside the section of site identity, add your logo. You can select a logo here. I'm going to use a sample logo. I changed the logo, and when you see the web page, you can see that our logo is added. If you hover on it, you can see that it's linked to our main page. You can change these options actually. When you are calling the add theme support function and you're passing the custom logo, you can pass the options as the second parameter, like the logo defaults. And in this array, you can set the height, the width, and the flex width and height, and the header text. And you can also unlink the homepage logo, and it won't be a link anymore. For now, I don't need this option, so I'm going to delete. Now, if you don't want to show the logo and just want to show the site title and site description, you can use the blog info function that we discussed here when we want to get the char set. For this purpose, you just have to create an anchor tag with a link to. Now we use another WordPress function called Getsite Url. This function will always return the main address of your website. And here you want to show your site title. So now we use the blog info function. And for the parameter, we pass the name. This will show us the name of our website. Now, if we check the main page of our website, we can see that the site title is here, but also the logo is here. So I'm just going to delete the logo, remove it from our customizer, and then refresh the page. And now we can see that our title is here, but for showing the description, I'm also going to put this in an h1 tag. For the description, I want to use again the blog info function. Now we need to pass the description parameter here. Check the page again, and we can see that the subtitle and also the descriptions are added. One more thing that we can add to our header is a menu. I'm going to create a container for this menu. Medium 9 and GridX. For now, we need to register a menu in WordPress. In order to add a location for your menu in your WordPress website, you need to use a function called Wp-Nav Menu. This function gives two parameters, a location and a description. These two parameters are required, and it's a menu location and a description for that location. This function should also be added in the after setup theme hook. So I'm going to write a function for registering all my menus. And also call this function in my after setup theme. Inside this function, I need to call the Wp-Nav Menu function. The first parameter is the location. We can call it whatever we want. It's just the name of the location. I'm just calling it header menu. And the description is that this menu is going to show in the header. Now, if we check our WordPress dashboard, we can see that inside appearance, we have another submenu called menus. We didn't have a submenu before, but now that we registered a menu location, this menu showed up. In the menu name, I'm going to write the header. And for the display location, you have an option called this menu is going to show in the header, and it's our header location. Now I create the menu. You can add as many as item that you want to this header. I'm going to add just some sample links to it. I added some sample links. They don't link to any word special, they're just sample links. And after all, I saved the menu. And this menu is saved. Now I have my location menu and I have a menu. I need to show it in my theme now. Now, in order to do this, we use a WordPress function called Wp-Nav Menu. This function displays a navigation menu and accepts some parameters like menu, menu class, menu ID. That we'll discuss it. In our header file, we need to call this function in the tag that we created. And I pass the parameter as an array. The first one is the menu, and it should be the menu ID, slug name, or object that we created. Now, if you check the page that we created the menu in the appearance, you can see that we called the menu header. The name is header, so we should pass the header here. Now, this menu will show up in our WordPress theme. If you check the main page, you can see that the menu is here. But we have other parameters that we can pass in, like a class and menu ID. We can assign a class and ID to our menu, and this will help us in styling the menu. We can also specify whether the menu should be wrapped in the UL or it should be wrapped in the div, and also assign a class or an ID to that container. For now, we created a header and put our site title and site description in the header, and also created a menu in the header. You can style this as whether as you want, and we will see you in the next video. Share this video if you think it'll be useful for someone else, and subscribe for more development videos.